Okay, so yesterday we were talking about equilibrium, the reaction happening simultaneously in both directions, but remember it doesn't have to be in an equal rate. And so we're going to play with that today with what I call Le Chat's principle, because I don't like speaking French and I don't really know how to say Le Chatelier's principle. It's way more easy to just say Le Chat's. But don't go to college and tell your college professor, yeah, that Le Chat's principle, because he'll think you're an idiot. So basically what it states is that if a stress is applied to a system in equilibrium, the system shifts to relieve that stress. Just like you or I, if we get stressed, we like to do something. Some of us like to go to the gym, not me. Some of us like to watch TV or read a book. Whatever you may do to relieve your stress, that's how the principle is working. Something is going to happen and the equilibrium will shift to relieve whatever's going on. Okay, so we're going to look at what are the stresses today, and what it all comes down to is crowding. Okay, crowding one side of the reaction or the other side of the reaction, and that, my friends, is crowded. So let's play with equilibrium. Let's think about this general reaction. A plus B, and notice I'm saying now, is in equilibrium with C plus D. When you see the double arrow, you don't say yields or produces, you say is in equilibrium with. So that's what the double arrow means. So A plus B is in equilibrium with C plus D. What would happen if you added more A? I want you to think about this to yourself. This is the way your mind should be thinking. If you had A and you added more of that substance, which side of the equation is getting more crowded? A plus B or C plus D? If you said A plus B, you are correct. So if you add more A, it's crowding the left. So the equilibrium is going to shift to relieve that stress, to relieve that crowding. Nobody likes to be crowded. We're going to use up some of that A and produce more of the products. And so that will take care of that extra A that has been added in. So if you add more A, we say the equilibrium has shifted to the right or shifted to the products. And you get more C plus D in that case. So by adding more A, we are driving the equilibrium to the right. So what happens if you add more D? If you added more D, you're crowding the right-hand side, and so in this case, it would shift to the left. So you're going to produce more A plus B. Remember, the only way to produce more of the left-hand side is to use up what you have on the right. So the concentrations of D and C are going to go down in order to increase the concentrations of A and B. And that's what we want to happen. If you've added more D, all of a sudden there's this extra amount in there. The equilibrium wants to use that up. It doesn't like it, okay, and so it shifts to the left and increases the reaction going in the reverse direction. The rate would be higher. So let's take a look at an example here. This is the one that we looked at earlier yesterday. You have an orange ion and a yellow ion, and let's see what happens when you play with the equilibrium with this particular reaction. So you can see whenever she's adding the acid, then we are driving the equilibrium to the left, to the reactant side, and it turns orange. Whenever she adds the base, we're driving the equilibrium to the right, and it turns yellow. So let's talk about the various ways there are to affect equilibrium. There's 3 of them. You can change the concentration of something. Remember, if you see brackets, square brackets around it, that means molarity, which is a unit for concentration, moles per liter. You could change the amount of heat. You could either raise the temperature or lower the temperature, or you can change the pressure. And remember, that is probably only going to affect gases. So let's look at reducing the concentration first. Here's our good old friend A plus B is in equilibrium with C plus D. What if we lowered the concentration of C by some kind of precipitation reaction? So remember, it all has to do with crowding. It always wants to shift to either relieve crowding or make up for something becoming less crowded. Okay, if there's all of a sudden less crowding on one side, then it's more crowded on the other side. So it's going to use up some reactant or product to replace that. So in this case, if we lowered C, we're making it less crowded on the right, so it's going to shift to the right is the correct answer. Okay, because crowding is decreased on that side, so A and B now react to make up for that loss. Okay, C and D, C is being removed, so we're going to make more of those products so that we relieve that crowding, okay, that's happening on the left-hand side. So that's one way, concentration. You might say that that's equilibrium shifting to the right. So if we remove C, we're going to shift to equilibrium to the right. That's how you answer that question. The beauty of these questions on the test is you have a 1 in 3 chance. Either the equilibrium shifts to the right, or it shifts to the left, or there's no shift at all. So what about heat? You always want to treat heat as a reactant or a product. So that means you're going to have to remember where it goes in the reaction. If you're just told that it's endothermic or exothermic, or that heat is released, then you have to remember that that goes on the right-hand side. This example would be endothermic because it's on the left-hand side of the equation. So remember though, it's only endothermic in the forward reaction. If we're going in the reverse, then it's exothermic because it would be being released. It would be released at that point. So if I just tell you that it's endothermic though, we always treat the reaction as though it's going in the forward, unless I specifically say it's endothermic in the reverse reaction. That would be kind of a convoluted way to say it, but you never know. It might happen. So heat is needed to make J and K, and heat is released when you're going in the reverse. So what would happen if we raise the temperature on this system? I want you to think about it. Think about it in terms of crowding. Maybe pause the video and look at the equation. So if you raise the temperature, you're crowding the left-hand side, which means that the reaction is going to shift to the right. Okay, we're going to get more J and K in this case if you raise the temperature. And vice versa, if you lowered the temperature, what's going to happen? Then the left is now going to be less crowded because we're lowering the temperature, we're removing heat from the equation, so we're going to shift to the left to basically replace the heat that's being lost. Do you get it? Finally, what about pressure? Here we have an equation, nitrogen plus hydrogen is making ammonia. The rule that you have to remember for pressure, I want you to say it to yourself 50 times before you go to bed tonight. The rule is higher pressure favors fewer moles. Okay, and remember, the word favors means shifts towards. So in this case, how many moles of gas do we have on the left? Well, 1 mole of nitrogen gas and 3 moles of hydrogen gas adds up to a total of 4 moles. Over here on the right-hand side, we have 2 moles of gas. So higher pressure favors fewer moles. Now let's answer the question. What happens if we increase pressure? If you raise the pressure, higher pressure, it's going to favor the side with fewer moles. So in this case, that's the right-hand side. So in this case, it's going to shift to the right because there are 4 moles of reactants on the left and 2 moles of products on the right. So there's fewer moles on the right, so therefore it's going to shift to the right. If you reverse that, then lower pressure is going to favor more moles. Okay, so the exact opposite is also true in that case. Okay, we'll do a lot more practice of this in class and play a little game, and hopefully it'll make more sense. But that's pretty much it.